Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I'm excited to get to this one. It's going to be kind of a combination between an idea that I've been sort of chewing the fat on in recent weeks, and then also the first in a series of upcoming videos here on the channel that I'm hoping some of you will get some entertainment out of or enjoy watching. So as you may or may not know, after like 18 years of kind of steady collecting, buying all kinds of cards that I just liked for one reason or another, over the last couple of years, I came to the realization that my collection was getting larger than I wanted it to be. And so I've been putting a lot of thought into different ways or different frameworks that I can use to kind of make decisions on what cards I keep versus what cards I sell or get rid of to help cull and refine the collection. And one that I came up with in recent weeks, and I kind of want to put it to the test in today's video and create a series of upcoming videos, as I mentioned, is something that I'm going to call by the numbers. And we're going to test this out today with Mickey Mantle, and it's a really simple concept. I started thinking maybe I could look at my collection of each player, because I am largely a player collection, and at least mentally, if not actually, kind of whittle it down to a number of cards that match that player's jersey number. Now that's going to work better for some than others, I get it, but this is just one of many different kind of attempts that I'm using to help myself make kind of some more difficult decisions as I get further and further into my reduction of my collection. So in the case of Mickey Mantle, obviously he was infamously number 7 for the New York Yankees. And so for today's exercise, and I figured this would also make kind of a cool collection showcase video excuse also, I'm going to go through my Mickey Mantle cards and kind of decide what 7 or which 7 I would keep if I had to actually stick to this and refine down to just 7 Mickey Mantle cards. So the first one that came to mind, obviously, and this will come to no surprise to anyone who knows me as a collector, is his 1953 Topps issue. And I won't go into a ton of detail on all of these, but the obvious reason here, this was growing up as a kid collector back in the 90s, first learning about baseball, gaining an appreciation for its history. This became like my ultimate dream card. I never thought I would own this. I'm honored and flattered to have this card in my collection, and it's the first one that comes to mind. If I had to, purge every single Mickey Mantle card that I owned and could only keep one, this would be it, the 1953 Topps, number 82. And so that was the obvious first choice out of 7 for this exercise. That leaves me with 6 slots, and the next one that kind of came to mind, believe it or not, is my most recent Mickey Mantle pickup. And this is kind of where it gets fun and the exercise kind of starts to show some value in my mind. This card I picked up really within the last maybe 2-3 months here, and it's his 1961 Topps release. Now this really caused me to think a little bit deeper about why I have these cards, which ones I want to keep, because even though I don't really enjoy the 1961 Topps design, it's one of my least favorite flagship Topps sets, this card is a home run for my collection on multiple levels. First of all, I have a collection called Warlords, where I'm attempting to collect Major League Baseball's war leader from every season, 1950 through present. And in 1961, Mickey Mantle was the warlord for Major League Baseball. So this card fits there. And then I also am building a 62 card collection that is a tribute to the American League home run record. And even though in 1961, Maris would end up with the record and Mantle kind of came up short in the end, I think that chase between these two individuals throughout that summer, which has been well documented, really makes him a deserving candidate, his 61 release in particular, for inclusion in that collection. So the fact that this one, aside from just being a Mantle, which let's face it, all Mickey Mantle cards are cool and great, the fact that this fits 2 other collections that I am very passionate about makes it a no-brainer for me to keep, even though it's from a set that I don't particularly adore. And so the 1961 Topps issue was my second choice of a Mantle card that I would choose to keep. So continuing on in that trend, there were 2 other seasons where he was the Major League Baseball warlord, which I am fortunate enough to also own the cards from. And the first of which is the 1956 season and the 1956 Topps Mickey Mantle card. Now, I've heard many people refer to this as their personal favorite Mantle card. I can completely see why. This one, not only was he the Warlord in 1956, so this is a perfect fit for that collection, but also just as a fan and collector of big seasons in general, he was your American League MVP in 1956, and looking over the entirety of his career, his 1956 season was probably his best overall season. I know Mantle himself certainly thought so. He wrote and titled a book around this season, and so this one is an absolute winner. Aside from being aesthetically pleasing, just fits for all the reasons I just mentioned, and it's one of the top 3 that I noted to keep out of my 7 in this mental exercise that I'm going through. Next up, card number 4 kind of follows suit there. It is his 1957 Topps issue, and apologies for the brief glare there. But once again, in 1957, he was the MVP of the American League, and he was also the war leader for Major League Baseball. So this fits my overall collecting kind of preferences, just like the 56 by being a big season, and just like the 56 and 61 because he led the league in war. So those were some obvious choices. And then continuing on, since we saw the 1956, which was an MVP season, and the 1957, which was an MVP season, I also have his 1962 Topps release, and this represents his 3rd and final MVP campaign. So this one is an obvious choice for inclusion because having the 56, the 57, and the 62 gives me the trifecta of MVP years, and really that's the main reason that this one is getting included. Also has the added bonus of having the stats on the back from that 1961 season where he was involved in that epic home run chase with Roger Maris. And that right there brings us up to 5 out of 7. And this is where the choices got a little bit tougher from here on out. But my next one is one that kind of just proves that this is not based on dollar value. So this is a cheap, readily available Mickey Mantle card, one of his cheapest playing era cards as far as I know. It's the 1958 Topps All-Star card. This one I love for a few different reasons and was also an obvious choice for me. Of course, infamously, this is the first All-Star subset in a Topps release. Has that glorious design with the red background and the stars. NL players got the blue background. Love the action shot here, and more on that with our final card. And yeah, just a historically important card, being the first All-Star card. And also for me, it's got a lot of nostalgia because this was the first Mickey Mantle card playing era that I ever owned as a collector many years back. Not this exact version, ended up selling that one and kind of upgrading to this a few years ago. But this card in general is the first Mantle that I ever owned. And for a period of years, it was the only playing era Mantle that I owned. So for all of those reasons, this was my 6th selection, which leaves us with one more card. And this one really was not, I wouldn't say a coin flip, but much closer than any of the other selections. And I ended up going with his 1953 Bowman color. This is a card that I only acquired within the last year. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And to me, it might be the best image or my favorite image overall on any Mantle card. So that is definitely the reason that this one made the cut at the end here. Plus, it's kind of nice to pair it up with the 1953 Topps card and have both of his mainstream 1953 issues included within my 7. So those would be my, my 7 choices for my by the numbers Mickey Mantle PC. Now, the cards that you see in the background to the left there that have been up the whole time, I am not getting rid of either of those at this point either. First of all, the nice, beautiful, shiny 2011 Topps Chrome Black Refractor that was gifted to me by Double D in his matching Double D vintage grading slab. That one is just really, really important to me and something that I will cherish in my collection going forward. I will never purge that card. And then on the left, the 1954 Bowman. I am keeping that one for now as well, just because I do have about maybe 50% of a 54 Bowman set complete at this point. So it just makes sense to keep that with the rest of it. Maybe in the future, as my condensing continues and my tastes change and I decide possibly to move on from a 54 Bowman set pursuit, that one could become expendable, but for now it stays. But what going through this exercise did help me with I have one other playing era mantle. I've never shown it on the channel before, and I want to show it here to conclude the video because it's a great example of how this exercise is really helping me determine what cards that I could possibly move on from to free up some space around here and to generate some money in my hobby war chest to go over maybe some bigger cards or go for maybe some bigger cards that I otherwise wouldn't be able to afford on my standard card budget. And that is his 1960 Topps release. This is a beautiful card. I'm certainly not knocking my own cards here. I've had this for many years, since before I was even on YouTube, quite honestly. Just never found an excuse to show it off. But I'm not somebody who intends to work on like a full playing era run of Mickey Mantle cards. That's just not me. It's not where I want my collection to be. And I would rather take the hobby funds that I have available and apply them towards some other areas of my collection just to make it a little bit more well-rounded. So I've determined by going through this exercise that this card is not one that I really need in my collection anymore. It doesn't really fit for any of the reasons that I went through on the 7 cards that I am keeping. There's not sentimental value here like there is with the Double D card. There isn't a set build in progress. So this one, although it's a great card, if I'm really being honest with myself, it is somewhat of an outlier in my collection. So at the conclusion of today's video, or probably sometime this upcoming weekend, I will be selling or listing on eBay this 1967 Topps Mantle. I'm just gonna let it go at open auction, see how I do over the course of a week, and see what I can drum up for some funds to go after some other cards that you may see here on the channel in the future. So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. That concludes the first of what is hopefully quite a few episodes here of By the Numbers. This collecting framework or technique is obviously not going to work as well for everybody. Aaron Judge is number 99, for example. Do I really want 99 Aaron Judge cards in my collection? Probably not, but that's okay. This isn't the only method that I can use to help me with my decision making, but I think it's a fun one. I think it'll make a fun series of videos. And with some players, there's going to be a mix of modern and vintage. So Jackie Robinson would be an example. I don't even think there are 42 playing era Jackie Robinsons, and I certainly don't intend to collect all of his playing era cards. And I have a lot of Jackie Robinson modern cards that I love. So he's someone that I'll be covering in an upcoming episode, and his By the Numbers video is going to consist of 42 cards that are a mix of the few vintage cards that I'm fortunate enough to have, as well as some fantastic modern cards. So I'll stop there before I drone on too long. I think it's a very simple concept. I'm sure you get the idea here. Would love to hear your feedback below on your interest level and seeing any more of these videos in the future. What you think of this as sort of an exercise, a mental exercise to go through to help with refining my collection, and really any other thoughts you may have. If you stuck with me for 13 plus minutes here, I truly appreciate your time. I will be back soon with some more content, as you know, and until then, I hope everybody out there is enjoying the hobby. Take care.